That's real good. Alright, so here's the deal. This week has been finals week. Alright? Last week was my last week of school, and I've been on the grind. Alright? So I was thinking I didn't get to watch any Christmas movies yet. So I thought maybe we could, you know, watch a couple of Christmas videos. I got me some cookies. About to go get me some ice cream. And then we're just gonna watch a couple of videos. How y'all feel about that? I'm just gonna get me some ice cream real quick, warm these cookies up, and we're gonna jump into the video. That sound good? Cool. I'll be right back. That's so cool. I'm never gonna get over that. Ugh. Gotta take my first bite, you know what I mean? Why am I always choking? Oh my God. Wow. I never failed to amaze myself. I know y'all peeped the Christmas tree. It smell like candles in here. I got my cookies and ice cream. We about to vibe, all right? I don't know where the fruit this pour is at. Bro. Dang, dude. Get your desk together. Swear to God. Alright, so not gonna lie, I'm not exactly sure how YouTube treats reacting to videos, so I'll just leave the videos in the description if y'all want to check the videos out. Other than that, we should be good to go. Thank y'all for letting me watch y'all's videos. I appreciate it. Alright, now our first video is gonna be Alright, y'all caught me. I don't know what's on my homepage, okay? First video.
It was Christmas Eve, 2001. I was 6 years old at the time.
Wasn't even born yet.
My parents had gone to the store in town to grab some last-minute supplies for Christmas. They'd left me in the barely capable hands of my older brother. I was downstairs in the living room watching some cartoons.
You sound grown.
While he was upstairs in his room listening to metal. As I'm sitting there, watching Dexter's Lab, I caught something out of the corner of my eye.
Look, let me tell y'all something. Stop leaving your windows wide open. Alright? This just looked like it screams for somebody. That's an arm. That's exactly why you don't leave your windows open.
Passing by my living room window was a guy in a big...
Kids don't know better.
He stopped at the window and looked in at me. It was a man dressed up in a cheap Santa suit.
This is horrible.
He had the big fake white beard and everything. Even a large sack slung over his shoulder.
Sick.
Now, to my childish mind, this really was Santa paying me a visit. Still, even then,
it's not.
I knew something was off. What unsettled me about him as he stared in through the window at me were his eyes. They looked sickly and yellow, with dark bags hanging under them. His cheeks were sunken.
You already know what I'm thinking.
Look like the holly jolly jelly belly Santa I imagined growing up. He looked in at me for an uncomfortably long amount of time.
Why are you staring at him? Go upstairs.
Rather than be filled with joy, I just felt uncomfortable. But being so young, I didn't exactly know how to react. Santa was a good guy, right? While looking in, he motioned towards our front door.
Oh!
I can't even be mad at the little boy, honestly.
I got up off the couch and walked into the
Bruh!
I unlocked the door.
Oh, he's done.
Touch the screen door in front of it like my parents had taught me. As such, there was still a thin layer between myself and the Santa now standing on my porch.
What can you do, man?
Oh, ho, ho.
Bruh.
Why, hello there, little boy. Merry Christmas. And what's your name? Michael.
Who's done?
I remember feeling confused that he didn't know my name. I always thought Santa knew every kid's name. Wasn't he supposed to have a list?
That should be a red flag, Johnny.
Nice to meet you, Michael.
Bruh.
Do you know who I am?
If he opened the door, he deserve it. That's how I feel.
Well, I've heard you've been a very good boy this year, so I brought you this. He dipped his hands into the sack and pulled out a wrapped present.
Bruh.
Held it out in front of him.
It's got mama head in it.
Come and get
Calling
it.
it right now.
Being so young and naive, I was tempted to open the screen door and take the gift. But my parents had drilled stranger danger into me hard, to the point where I didn't even trust Santa Claus.
Sounds like a good parent.
All I could think to do was tell Santa
Why you got the door open, though?
early, and that he should come back at nighttime like he was supposed to.
Yeah.
Put the present under our tree, you know?
This kid asking too many questions.
Come now, Michael. Open up and come and get your present. It's a doozy.
No!
The temptation was strong. I wanted the present, obviously. My imagination ran away with me, thinking about which new, cool toy it could be. But I needed
He deserves
permission.
it.
I shouted up to my brother.
Close the door!
Daniel, come down here real quick. I'll never forget how that Santa's eyes widened as I shouted that upstairs.
Look at him! Look! He should have closed the door immediately. Just, now you about to get bopped. How you feel, Michael?
I'll never forget how that Santa's eyes widened.
Yeah,
as I
he
shouted
looked like he about to
upstairs.
bop you.
Without hesitation, he turned and walked away. He hopped into a van outside our house that still had its engine running.
He got lucky.
All I could think was, where are the reindeer? Within moments of getting in, he drove off down the road,
Bruh.
never to be seen again. Not by me, at least. My brother hadn't even heard me shouting because of the metal he was blasting.
That's an L
When
man.
my parents came back, I told them about the Santa that came to visit.
They gonna beat their son.
They thought I was just pretending, or
No.
playing a game. A couple of days after Christmas, the news broke out. An 8-year-old boy in our town had disappeared from his house after his parents
Oh,
ran to the
that's
stores.
tough.
They'd only left him alone for 10 minutes. They never found him.
That
My
could have
folks
been you,
believed my
Michael.
story after that, and never left me alone with my brother again. I thank my lucky stars we had that screen door rule in my home.
Yes, the rumors are true,
Ugh.
and sessions are coming.
Get this off my screen.
On Christmas Eve in 1989,
That strong intro. Why you yelling in my ear? Turn that down.
on Christmas Eve in 1989, I was traveling through Mexico City in my
Got
boyfriend's
that
car.
dry monologue.
He was driving and I was navigating. There were Christmas decorations up along the streets and most of the traffic.
Why every car the same color? Why? You couldn't have spiced it up with blue or yellow with a little bit of green? It's Christmas. Be creative.
There were Christmas decorations up
That is
along
so
the streets
boring.
and most of the traffic was moving at a snail's pace, taking care not to hit the dense pockets of people walking up and down the street. We were in a hurry though, so my boyfriend turned off one of the main roads and we cut down a side street to avoid the congestion. We made a few more turns and suddenly stopped when we realized we didn't have a clue where we were. I opened the map while my boyfriend put the car in park and lit up a cigarette.
That's your first problem. You're smoking a cigarette with the windows up. No, scratch that. You're smoking a cigarette in the first place. Kids, if you're watching this, stay away from cigarettes. Okay?
I opened the map while my boyfriend
That's so
put
nasty,
the car in
bruh.
park and lit up a cigarette. I was tracing our route on the map to backtrack us when something struck our car hard on the front side right next to me. I caught a glimpse of a figure slam into our windshield and bounce forward off the car. I cried out in shock while my boyfriend stuffed his cigarette in the ashtray and stepped out of the car.
That calm walk out the car. He just killed somebody. Look how the man walk. Look how the man ashes his cigarette
I
out.
cried out in shock while my boyfriend stuffed his cigarette in the...
Blank expression, just. Bruh.
I cried out in shock while my boyfriend stuffed his cigarette in the ashtray
How
and
he
stepped
so
out
calm,
of the car.
bro?
This is where the experience became strange. I've never shared this
Oh,
before with
nah.
anyone other than my closest friends
She
and
peed herself,
family who
didn't
I
she?
trust. While my boyfriend was climbing out of the car, I saw the figure who struck us stand up awkwardly, holding his head and limp across the street. My boyfriend completely ignored him and bent down to look at the front of the car. I rolled down my window and called out, "Hey!" to the man as he limped away. My boyfriend, thinking I was yelling at him, called back to me, "Don't get out." I called back, "What? Why?" And my boyfriend stood back up and I noticed blood on his pants from where he had knelt down. "He's dead," my boyfriend said, and he rubbed his face. "What? No, he's not. I turned and started to point in the direction the man had limped away in, but he was gone. I got out of the car and stood up. I saw enough to understand what my boyfriend meant. The man we had struck had flipped off the windshield and caught his head in a storm drain. His neck was very clearly broken and he was bleeding heavily from 2 different compound fractures in his legs where he had struck our car with his bike. The bike itself was lying on its side by my feet, the front wheel bent sideways and the back wheel still spinning. I was in shock and kept jerking my head back and forth down the street the man had looked down on and the figure at my feet. It didn't make sense. They were wearing the exact same clothes. How many people did we hit?
Tweaking.
I asked my boyfriend. He looked at me like I had hit my head. "Only one," he replied. Then he started waving his arms to flag down a police car. I sat down on the sidewalk and stared at the ground, feeling like I was going to be sick. I wasn't crazy. I hadn't seen a ghost because I had seen the shadow of the man cast on the stone wall behind him as he stood up and limped away. But there he was.
That's trauma,
the exact same man who had stood up right there on the ground in front of our car. The police blocked off the area, examined the bike and our cracked windshield, and determined the guy had been speeding down the hill on his bike and struck us without applying the brakes. They asked me what I saw, and the best that I could do was stammer that it happened so fast. I thought we had hit 2 people. We got a ride from a family member to my boyfriend's house, but I was still in such a state of shock that I couldn't even touch the dinner that had been prepared for us. People have since asked if the man who stood up was bloody or if I could see the whites of his eyes.
That's tough.
Honestly, I don't recall seeing either. All I could say with certainty is that he stood up, held his right hand to his head, and limped away. He didn't react to my boyfriend stepping out of the car. I don't know if I believe in ghosts or life after death, but if that's the case, this man was physically reacting to the impact that had killed him.
That's crazy.
Seeming not to have noticed that he was dead. Occasionally I dream about that night and that impact, but in the dream I never see the man stand back up.
Man, Nick is gone,
I see a
bro.
bright flash of light and then nothing. No details of the man himself after the hit. I never even found out the man's name. It was the worst Christmas of my life.
Dang. Buddy's neck was gone, bro. That man was... Alright, it's not funny. My bad. I need a water break. Alright, next one. Bro, watch the video.
Every year before Christmas, a terrifying feeling grabs my heart and mind. It's been 10 years, but I still can't erase the haunting memory of one Christmas day. My son was 5 years old when this incident happened. After the
They look
separation from my husband,
miserable.
Damien was my everything. He
Oh,
was
that's
always
why.
nice to people and good with kids at school.
They got divorced.
Whenever I went to pick him up from school, I always saw him surrounded by friends. I was happy to
Did
see
you,
him
though?
fitting in nicely with groups.
Did you, though?
The week before Christmas, Damien's school staged a children's play. After the show ended, I was driving home with him.
He
I
looked
was
miserable,
praising him
bro.
for his excellent performance in the play when he just
Look at the
told
man's
me,
face.
I made a new friend today, Mom.
Look.
smiled.
Hold on, bro. Bro, look at this man, neutral face. He don't care why he look like this. A kid shouldn't be looking at you like that. If a kid looking at you like that, there's a problem. There's a problem. Look at him. Bro, he's staring at her with the
For his
most...
excellent performance in the play when he just told me, I made a new friend today, Mom. I smiled back and said, "You've been such a good boy this year, and I'm sure Santa will bring you lots of gifts for Christmas." His face lit up when I told him that.
Okay.
We got back home and had dinner. I tucked Damien
I'm still
into
on
bed
edge, bro.
and
He
went
look
to sleep.
He looked like
The
he
next
not
morning,
there.
When I woke up and went to the kitchen to make breakfast,
Bro, what's on the
I
floor?
noticed the cookie jar was broken. Shattered glass and cookies were lying all over the kitchen
Alright, maybe
floor.
he's just a regular kid. I
I
don't
got
know.
really pissed off and called Damien into the room. Damien was brushing his teeth and came to the kitchen about 10 minutes later. He looked up at me and said, "What is it, Mom?" I said in an angry voice, "Did you break the cookie jar last night?" He shook his head and said, "No, it wasn't me." "Really? Then who was it?" Damien looked at me and said, "It was Mr. Nobody." As I was
Who
in
the
no
freak
mood
is
for
Mr.
such
Nobody,
jokes,
bro?
I got even more angry.
Yeah,
and
that
said,
pissed me off
"Don't
too.
you try to fool me, Damien." Damien started to sob and said, "I am telling the truth, Mom. I told you I made a friend yesterday. He said his name was Mr. Nobody. He was the one who broke the cookie jar last night." Then he started to cry. I picked him up into a big hug and decided to drop the issue.
See,
figured
bro,
like every
look, bro. Here's my philosophy, alright? Sometimes kids don't know better because they just don't know better. You know what I mean? So when they say things that they ain't been saying before, and it sound like bizarre, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like, "No, I promise I ain't eat the candy," and his mouth blue. He said he ain't break the cookie jar, and he coming up with this Mr. Nobody. I would look into that personally. But hey, do what y'all want to do. Do what y'all want to do, man.
I am telling the truth,
See,
Mom.
like, look
I
at
told
him,
you
bro.
I made
He
a friend
look.
yesterday.
I don't know,
He
bro. That
said
don't
his
look
name
right,
was
man.
Mr. Nobody. He was the one who broke the cookie jar last night.
What he doing in my
Then
house?
He started to cry.
That's what I want to know.
I picked him
don't
up
pay
into
no bills?
a big hug and decided to drop the issue. I figured, like every other child, he too had an imaginary friend. And due to the fear of being grounded, he was just making up a story. Christmas was now 2 days away. My ex-husband called and said that he'd like to join us for Christmas dinner. I knew how much Damien missed his father, so, for his sake, I decided to put aside our marital issues for one night. That evening,
That's a W,
I was doing
Mom.
house chores when I heard Damien's footsteps in my room. "Damien, how many times have I..."
Why y'all do this girl like that? Why? Y'all couldn't give her a little something, bro? Look at her back meat. Why? Degrading this beautiful woman.
Our marital issues for one night. That evening, I was doing house chores when I heard Damien's footsteps in my room. "Damien, how many times have I told you
Bruh, she
not
don't
to
know the
play
difference
in my
between a grown
room?"
man footsteps?
I screamed out loudly. I could see a shadow moving on the wall opposite my bedroom door.
But he got a
I
hat
rushed
on.
to the
It's a
corridor
wrap.
to scold Damien. I was about to peek inside when I heard Damien's voice from behind me. "Mom, I'm hungry." I was shocked and absolutely terrified at the same
She's
time.
done.
I slowly walked towards him and said, "Did you go into my room?" But Damien said,
Hey, don't turn your
"No,
back to the
I was
room."
in my room," and did something really creepy. He looked over my shoulder as if someone was standing behind me.
Oh, no.
I
See, that gave me
immediately turned
chills,
around,
bro.
But didn't see anyone there. Later on, I checked my room and the entire house, but all the doors and windows were already locked.
Ooh.
Also, there was no sign of any forced entry.
Nah. Nah, I'm getting a hotel, bro. I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. No.
Also, there was no sign of any forced entry.
Bro,
I
because
got
you're a
really
kid, let him
worried this
in.
time and noticed weird things happening around the house. I started decorating the house as Christmas was knocking on the door.
Nah.
But sometimes I noticed things being misplaced from their positions. Like, if I kept a lamp beside the porch in the living room and left for a few minutes, I always ended up finding it in the corner of the wall.
You think your son picking
Damien
that up?
was too small to lift such a
That's
heavy
what I'm
weight,
saying.
and there was no one else in the house.
No.
One night, I went to the kitchen to get a glass of water and thought to check on Damien on my way back. As I got close to his door, I heard his voice talking. He was speaking to someone. He talked in a very low voice, but I could still hear him. Damien was saying, "You can't walk around the house at night like this. If Mom sees you, she won't let you stay with us." I immediately entered his room, thinking someone broke into our house. but there was no one inside.
Nah.
Damien was sitting on his
Check
bed
under the
nervously.
bed.
I asked him, "Who were you talking to?" He looked towards his closet. and
Check
then
in the
looked back at
bed.
me. I said in a tensed voice, "Damien, you are scaring me now. Is there anyone in your room?" He still didn't say anything and just kept staring
Bro,
at me.
she's done.
I went to the closet and opened the door with my trembling hand. There was no one inside. I heaved a sigh of relief and scolded Damien for staying awake so late.
Hold on.
I tucked it.
Why didn't she check under the bed? Kids be smart, bro. You know what he did probably? He knew Buddy was underneath his bed. So what he do? He looked at the closet. Like, that way when she walked over to the closet and she ain't find nothing, he don't have to worry about it no more because he under the bed. You're stupid, Mom. You're stupid. I would have checked under the bed. I'm checking everywhere. Matter of fact, get your stuff. You're going to your daddy house.
I tucked him into bed and went to bed myself. I couldn't sleep that night. Damien's weird behavior had me worried.
Yeah, she's done.
The next day was the day before Christmas, so I decided to take Damien to the mall to let him buy things for
Cold.
decorating the Christmas tree. We had a fun time, and I bought him some ice cream. On our way back, I asked Damien, "How's your friend, Damien?" He said, "Which friend, Mom?" I said in a hesitated manner, "Your new friend, Mr. Nobody." Damien's face turned sad, and he said, "I don't think we're friends anymore, Mom." I asked, "Why is that?" He replied, "He doesn't listen to me.
Bruh.
Also, I feel scared of him." I was really quite shocked to hear him talk about his imaginary friend as if it
Because
were
he's not an
real.
imaginary friend.
After getting back home, I told Damien, "What does Mr. Nobody look like, Damien?" He went to his room and brought me a drawing he had made.
Nope. I'll be back. I'm about to check my crib. Nah, you're not finna get me. You're not finna get me. Y'all really think I'm about to sit here and listen to this stuff and not get creeped out and want to check my crib? You're smoking. Oh, bro. He got a drawing?
Mr. Nobody looked like Damien.
He's bugging.
He went to his room and brought me a drawing he had made.
Oh.
When I looked at the first page, I saw a very creepy figure.
Oh my God.
And there was a
Bruh.
thin, triangle-faced man standing beside
I
him.
don't even know if this is a
The
real
man
person
had a
or
huge
not.
smile on his face, like someone had cut his mouth from one ear to the other. His eyes were huge, and his eyeballs were blood red.
Yeah, that's creepy, bro.
The picture disturbed me to the core. I turned to Damien and said, "How did you
Cold.
meet this guy?" He said Mr. Nobody came to watch him play and asked to come to our house with him. I felt goosebumps on my skin.
Whoa, 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 whoa. What did he say?
How did you meet this guy? He said Mr. Nobody came to watch him play and asked to come to our house with him. I felt
Bruh.
goosebumps on my skin. I said in a low voice, "Do you mean he lives in our house now?" Damien once again looked behind me, and I was about to turn around when the doorbell rang. The doorbell scared the shit out of me, but I somehow managed not to let my fear show. As I opened the door, I saw Paul standing in the door.
Thank God.
Paul is my ex-husband. We exchanged smiles and I let him in the house. Damien was so excited to see him.
She
just
let the
before
situation
Christmas,
go?
And they both started to decorate the Christmas tree.
Bruh.
I couldn't shake the terrible feeling about Damien's imaginary friend, Mr. Nobody.
Yeah.
After dinner, as Damien was put to sleep, I told Paul about all of this. He laughed and told me
That's
that
not
I shouldn't
funny,
be
bro.
taking a kid's imagination so
I
seriously.
swear to God, bro.
And that's the main thing I hated about Paul. He never took me serious, unless we got into trouble. The same thing happened in this case as well.
Bruh.
On Christmas morning, we were all feeling excited. I went to Damien's room and woke him and Paul up, as Paul was sleeping in his room. We all came to the living room and witnessed a shocking scene. The Christmas tree was in complete ruins. It seemed like someone scratched it with something sharp and pointy.
Why did the dad's
toys and
eyes look
ornaments
like
we
that?
hung on the tree were all scattered all over the floor. Paul and I both knew it wasn't Damien. But Damien started to cry and said, "Trust me, Mom, it's Mr. Nobody. He broke the Christmas tree. I didn't know what was going on. Neither did Paul. We calmed
Get
down
out the house!
and started to rearrange the decorations once again.
Wow.
Around 6 o'clock that evening, we had everything back the way it
You're
was before.
stupid.
I cooked a delicious dinner, and Damien got
You're
excited
stupid.
opening his Christmas presents, which were filled with toys and candies. And Damien started smiling
Oh
again.
my god,
Damien
bro.
was watching the Christmas Day parade on the television.
They get so many chances to fix a mistake, and you don't do nothing about it, bruh. That's what's wrong with people. Y'all don't need... Listen, you rather be paranoid than be nonchalant. You know what I'm saying? Casual, careless, aloof. Pay attention, bro. That's how y'all end up on the news. Y'all think me checking my room is a joke? It's not. That's very serious, bro. Stop pretending like things can't happen. Listen to your son.
Damien was
Bruh.
watching the Christmas Day parade
Give me
on
some
the television,
water.
while Paul and I sat at the kitchen table, quietly with our glasses of wine. Paul understood I was still disturbed with everything going on in the house.
Bruh.
He spoke in a low voice. You should probably leave this house and move somewhere else. I can arrange that for you and Damien. I was already thinking about that. I nodded to Paul's suggestion and agreed to take his help on this matter. We were all set on leaving the house the next morning and
Bro,
staying
that's
with my
the
parents
problem,
for a while
bruh.
until we could get a new house. I tucked Damien into his bed and went to sleep.
No.
Paul wanted to have a few more drinks and watch some television, so I left him on his
It's
own.
not television. It's a horror
Around
movie.
2 a.m. in the morning, I heard a soft crying voice coming from Damien's room.
No.
Damien's room is on the opposite side of the living room. I rushed to his room and noticed Paul passed out on the couch.
Is
I
he
thought
passed
my son
out?
might have had a bad dream, so I didn't wake
Oh,
Paul.
I'm getting freaked out.
As I stepped near his room and opened the door, I froze in fear. I will never be able to forget what I saw in that room, but I can say with great assurance that I wasn't imagining it. I saw a thin, triangle-faced man lying on the ceiling
What
over
the
Damien's bed
freak?
and looking directly at him with his blood-red, angry eyes. Damien was sitting on his bed and sobbing in fear. He was so horrified that he could barely cry out loud. I screamed at the top of my lungs at that demonic figure who looked at me and howled in his spine-chilling voice. By opening his huge dark mouth.
Nah.
His howl sounded like it didn't belong in this world. My scream woke up my husband, and he ran to Damien's room. By then, I had already grabbed my son and came out of the room. I said in a crying voice, "Get us out of here! I don't want to be in the house for another second!" We all got out of the house immediately and stayed the night at a nearby motel.
Where is the
The
resolution
next
for
morning, we
the
went
creepy
back to
dude,
my
bro?
house and packed a few necessary things before leaving for my parents' house. I left Damien inside the car because I didn't want him to step inside this house ever again.
So we not gonna find out what
As we
happened
got
to
into
him,
the
bro.
car, after getting everything from the house, Paul started the engine. Damien was sitting behind
What the freak
me.
is in the window?
He looked back at the house and said, "Look, Mom, Mr. Nobody is waving goodbye to us. He's got a smile back on his face." I don't know who this Mr. Nobody was, but my mother said it might have been a demonic spirit who followed my son home.
Bruh.
We took Damien to a psychiatrist.
This giving me
Due to my
goosebumps.
parents' pressure, I also took Damien to see a priest. He conducted a few rituals, saying it was to bless my son's aura and soul. Now, I don't know how much it helped, but Damien hasn't seen Mr. Nobody after that horrifying Christmas night.
Bruh. Ah. Bro. Man. People be tripping, bro. Alright, this the last one, bro. This the last one. What in the freak is that? I thought I was watching something
I'm a
scary,
78-year-old
man.
retired car
Dang.
salesman living in a suburban area
is
of
loud.
Chicago, Illinois. After my wife passed away, I moved in with my son and saw a lot of stuff I never would have expected.
What's
I
this
just didn't wanna be
animation,
alone.
bro?
But my son knew I was hard of mobility and still put me up in the bedroom upstairs. I've basically lived in this bedroom, and for the most part I only get up to use the bathroom
not a
down
fan
the
of
hall.
them eyeballs.
But as much as I hate to say it, I guess I was too depressed after the passing of my wife to get on my son's back about letting me live downstairs. He would probably never budge anyway. He's got a job and a whole family of his own, so he's too busy to even think about the old cadre wasting away upstairs.
That's sad,
Sometimes I
man.
wonder if they've all forgotten about me. They barely come into my room to talk to me anyway, and it's getting to be more and more that the people in my TV shows feel like closer friends than my own son and grandkids.
It's pretty
They
depressing.
get so bored that I even spy on my neighbors just to have something to do. My bed is close enough to the window that I can see into their backyard without getting up. For a few years, I think I saw more of that family than I did my own. It was a middle-aged guy named
Dang.
Mike who was living with his mother and sister. Well, I don't know who owned the property, but I figured it was Mike's based on what I ended up seeing happen there. I swear, those folks seemed nice on the outset.
Bro,
Nothing
y'all-
to evoke
y'all-
suspicion. Just
Listen,
quaint, happy
listen,
little
listen, listen. Look at them eyes, bro. That makes me so uncomfortable, bro.
Nothing to evoke suspicion. Just quaint,
Why
happy
did they
little
make the
lives that
black
made
in
me
their
feel more
eyes so
comfortable in my
big?
own boring, bedridden existence. I'd seen them talk to each other on their back porch in the evenings or go out gardening in the mornings, and I never heard anything unusual for the longest time. That was until a couple years after I moved in, around Christmas time. I had just turned off the TV and was turning
Ain't
into
that
sleep
loud
for the
TV
night when I
turn.
heard people arguing.
Go to hell, you stupid tramp! You're a sorry piece of crap!
The voices weren't familiar, so I knew it was coming from next door. At some point, the shouting became screaming, and I started hearing all sorts of other noises going along with it. Doors slamming, glass breaking,
Oh,
loud
somebody getting
thuds,
bodied.
the whole business. Then, it all just stopped. I was tired, so I assumed it was just an argument that ran
Bruh.
itself out of steam. But I had a nagging feeling about it that played with my sleep. Some hours later, at what turned out to be 4 a.m., I was woken up by more noises. I looked out my window and saw Mike in the backyard. I had no idea what he was doing, but he was in a Grinch costume hauling some big Christmas sack to the tree by the garden
He
shed.
bodied that
and
girl.
Then he opened the shed and grabbed a shovel and started digging, and I realized he was burying that bag in the frozen dirt. I didn't know what to think of it. It must have taken him an entire 30 minutes before he finished and went back inside his house.
You
The only
watch him
thing
for
I could
30
think was that
minutes?
he was some hyper-dedicated geezer playing the role of the Grinch, trying to hide some stolen donations from an orphanage or something.
Man, people don't think, bro.
Trying to hide some stolen donations from an orphanage or something. I don't know.
He's
I'd
tripping.
always thought he was a nice guy, so there was no explanation that sat right with me. I waited until morning to tell my son. Of course, he didn't believe me. He thought I was just a crazy old kook.
Man,
so
this
did everybody
animation
else in the
style is
house.
so weird.
With nobody to back me up. I started to believe that. I ended up brushing it aside and forgetting about it. The weird thing about it, though, was that I never saw the neighbor's mother ever again. She was the one who always tended the garden. But after all that happened, she was never there to take care of the plants. However, I still saw Mike and his sister outside on the porch from time to time, but they never looked quite as happy. After a while, everything went back to normal, until about 4 years later. After so much time, my son tried befriending his neighbors. He would always try to talk to them, but they would just give him a gaunt stare and say nothing, eventually going back inside their house. Both of them,
Man,
the
this
brother and
animation
sister,
style
were
is
definitely
weird.
a weird bunch. But things got a little more disturbing right around Christmas, just like before. It seemed like it was happening all over again. They were shouting, then screaming, then a
Do
tussle and
something!
thud,
Call the
then
police,
a
bruh!
sudden silence. This time, I stayed up to watch. This all
Oh,
happening
my God.
twice was way too strange for me to sleep on it. It was right around 4 in the morning again. I stood up out of my bed to get a closer look out the window. I could see him coming out the back door. He was again dressed as the Grinch, dragging a big bag of something to the tree and burying it under the dirt. That's when out of nowhere, Mike turned his head and looked straight into my window. I quickly closed the blinds, but he had already seen me. A few minutes later, I couldn't help but peek. And what else did I see but the man himself in the window right across from mine, still in costume, glaring at me. I tried to act casual and play it off, so I opened the window and tried to make conversation across the way. Nice Grinch outfit. Thanks, buddy. Nice night out too, isn't it? Indeed it is. So, what are you doing up so late? That's when Mike stares at me, not saying a word. Anyway, have a good rest of your night. Merry Christmas. Then, Mike waves his hand by. And in that moment, I saw a flash of blood soaked into the palm of his hand. Right away, he realized he made a mistake and tried to cover for it by closing the blinds immediately. But it was too late. I laid starkly awake all night after.
Call the
With
police!
anxious thoughts about what the reason for that bloody hand could have been.
He's
from.
stupid.
The only conclusion I could reach was that he'd taken the life of his mother and sister and buried them in the backyard to keep it a secret. I didn't bother telling my son because I knew he would just brush me off, so I eventually called the cops. By morning, the cops were out in front of Mike's house, and he was immediately apprehended. Turns out that Mike's mother died in an altercation with his sister, and he helped her cover it up. Over the years, his sister had gotten ill and eventually died young. As for why he wanted to bury her in the backyard too, it was alleged that he did it for financial reasons. Just goes to show what people will do when money is tight. But if you ask me, I think the cops barely got half the truth out of that guy. I bet something way worse happened inside that house.
Y'all want to look at something creepy? Look at that. Alright. Yeah, I've never done anything like that before. Hopefully you guys enjoy. If you have to get anything from this, if you see something, say something. And don't be curious, bro. I done said this in my previous videos. I know for a fact. Stop being curious, bro. Mind your business. Unless somebody's life is in danger and you a superhero, then you get in their business. Otherwise, call the police and stay out of their way. I'm tired of telling y'all that. Y'all gonna end up on the news in the wrong way. Stop being in people's business, man. You're not Batman. You're not Superman. Alright? You're not. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're looking forward to more videos, make sure to go to the comment section below and let me know how you're feeling about the video. Leave a like, and if you really mess with me, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you're not late to the next video. With that being said, I'm Jay Outre. Y'all have a blessed day. Stay safe, and peace.